This is ChangeMakers with Katie Goar, finding the right solutions for the affordable housing community.
Today's changemaker is Scott Bader, who has spent more than 40 years in real estate, and now he's leading the Door County Housing Partnership to tackle some of the community's biggest housing challenges. Under his leadership, the organization has created permanent affordable housing specifically for the local workforce and helping families put down roots and strengthen the community's future. Scott, welcome to the Changemakers podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
I have a series of things that I want to talk with you about today. Specifically, we want to talk about Door County, but before we get into that, it's an honor to have you here. You've got nearly 4 decades in real estate, and I would be remiss if I didn't first start to ask you about some of that prior to Door County experience. So could you share how that evolution happened and then what brought you into your current role?
Well, I started in 85, obviously, and I was primarily, Door County is vacation area for the most part. They call it the Cape Cod of the Midwest. We call Cape Cod the Door County of the East. So my primary job when I first started was just selling second homes or vacation homes. That transformed, things went on. I ended up buying a company out and everything. We bought another office down in the big city of Sturgeon Bay, 9,000 people. And then I ended up selling it. And then kind of it's progressed into selling more, in addition, a lot of primary residences as well. Our market went crazy. We always had a bit of a shortage with workforce housing. And Sturgeon Bay, which was a city, like I said, of just under 10,000, you could always buy an affordable house there, $50,000, $60,000. That started to change when the market really started to pick up in 2018, 2019. People started buying those up then for vacation rentals. And then 2020, things just went crazy. The market I'd never seen before. And prior to that, maybe 2010, they started doing some studies about where people that live here and work here, where they're supposed to live, because we were running out of that. And they were going to do the third or fourth study, which I was involved with. And I complained that we don't need another study. We know what the problem is. We need workforce housing. And I made the mistake of saying that to my friend Mariah Good, who said, well, we just started this partnership called Door County Housing Partnership. This was, 2021, and they started it in 2019, and we would love to have you on the board. So I met with them and everything went through the whole thing. And next thing I know, I'm president. But I'd be remiss in letting you say that under my leadership, all this has happened. It's Mariah, it's Jim Honig. There's a whole bunch of other people that started this great partnership. Some of them aren't on the board anymore, but we keep going forward. And I could not do it without everybody else. It's not just me by any means.
Mm-hmm. So Door County, how big is it? Tell us a little bit about the county itself, where you are, how many people. You mentioned Sturgeon Bay. What else about Door County?
Well, we're, like I said, we're primarily second homes, especially in northern Door County. So our populations they're not big. In the summer they are, but not year round by any means. Or people don't live here year round as much as it's a second home for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
We have got more miles of shoreline than any other county in the nation, I believe. We've got Lake Michigan on one side. We've got Green Bay on the other. We've got several islands out there. It's a gorgeous place. I moved up here from Central Illinois in 83 for one summer, and I haven't left. But it's a beautiful place. It's a lot of people have found out about it now, and especially during COVID, and that has really driven our workforce housing crisis to even higher levels.
Mm-hmm. So being a kind of a tourist destination, second home market, and your mission then is to increase workforce housing and affordable housing. How are you guys going about that? What types of initiatives are you doing? And how are you tackling that problem?
Well, we do it. It's a thing called a community land trust, and there's several going up. There's several in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, a bunch in Madison. There's a bunch in Minnesota, and throughout the country now. Georgia's got some. I think New York is getting some. And what it is we buy the land or we get the land donated to us, and we retain ownership to the land. So there's a 99-year lease that go, and in that lease, there's all documents that say, I'm just going to do average formulas and things like this. The person that's going to buy it can only make X amount of dollars. Once you buy it, appreciation can only go up 1% a year, roughly. So that ensures that it's going to remain workforce housing. Because, I can get a really affordable house, but then I could turn around and sell it and make a big profit. Well, then it's no longer workforce housing. So they still own the house. They have exclusive rights to the land, to use the land and everything. We then either build the house in partnership with Habitat, or our next build that we're under construction right now that's almost done, or is going to be done in November, I believe, that we're hiring a private contractor. We then subsidize about 50% of the cost. So if the house cost, and that's the other problem, is housing costs are going up a lot. But if the house costs us, say, $250,000 to build, we subsidize $125,000. So they're buying a house for $125,000. They have to get a mortgage for that, and there are lenders out there that will do that. And then it's their house.
Mm-hmm. So with this 99-year lease model, what would be the ultimate goal for you guys as an organization to produce so many units or to have a certain portfolio in certain neighborhoods? Like, how are you using that particular model as far as your long-term strategic goals?
Well, we would like to have as many of these houses as possible. And this is not affordable housing. And we just had a house dedication, and it was great to have 3 of the news networks from Green Bay there that we could actually show people what these houses were. They're nice houses. They're small, but they're really nice, $300,000 houses roughly. But our goal is to just keep as many of those as we possibly can. Unfortunately, our model right now is we need to have sewer and water at the curb. And there's only 2 places in Door County. One is Sister Bay, the other is Sturgeon Bay, that actually has that. That's so we can keep it affordable. This will be our best year ever with 3 houses, I believe, possibly a 4th, but it is slow going because it's all, we apply for grants, we do fundraising constantly. And without that, we don't have a steady stream of income, I guess, without going out and doing the ask and everything.
Mm-hmm. So what do you hear when you go out to your donor base or you go out to places that you're applying for grants? Do you hear, um, you know, that, like, are you hearing like, okay, we'd love to help you, but ... Or how are you piecing all those together when you go out and start applying for this grants or start trying to solicit donors?
Well, one of the main things from our manufacturing base, they're the ones that really need this too. And they're like, building 1 house or 2 houses a year is not going to fix the problem. And the response is, you're right. It's not. We need more money. And if it takes 1 house at a time, so be it. But we prefer that we could be building a lot more per year. The other is that they don't want to, one of the objections was they didn't want to you take away from Habitat for Humanity, which that's completely false because their buyer does not meet our income requirements. Our buyer does not meet their income requirements. So we actually work together, and we have actually given land to the local Habitat chapter here, and they've built one of their houses on our land. So again, that will remain workforce housing forever, but it's a Habitat house.
Mm-hmm. And when you say that your buyers don't meet their criteria, explain some about who your types of buyers, your ideal buyer is.
Um, I guess it would be a nurse, maybe even a teacher, even somebody that works in the trades. Our most recent house, she's a service industry worker, and he works for the garbage company up here. The prior ones to that, she ran Northern Door County Daycare Center, which that's how we got one of the grants up in Sister Bay to buy all this land from the state. Was they wanted something that would be in conjunction with also solving the daycare crisis, which we also have up here too. Our last two down in Sturgeon Bay, she worked actually managing second home rentals. She had two kids, and the other woman worked at one of the local manufacturing companies, and she also has two kids too.
We've had a couple other guests on the podcast, one from Vermont and one from Steamboat Springs, and both of them had that same type of a tourist economy, but they were struggling with people to be able to work the jobs. And they, in one particular case, they had a lot of high turnover because people were having to commute so far because they had to
Mhm.
live out so far because to be able to try to afford the rents. And the communities got really creative and said, we want to be able to have people who can work the jobs for the ski industry and so forth. And so they were trying to find the land to be able to build, and they had a really creative model to do that. I see some parallels with what you're describing too, and what's happening in the community. Um, Ideally, how many houses would you like to be able to build per year to meet some of your demand in Door County?
Well, it's not going to be just us for sure, because that would take a lot more. But I mean, ideally, it'd be 10 a year.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
that's difficult on several fronts. One, getting the builders. The last two houses we did, Habitat did not have any builds for them, their houses. So their volunteer builders built our houses for us. We had to pay for all the materials and everything, but we had free labor basically. And that was amazing. But we can't do that with 10 houses a year. I mean,
Yeah.
we've looked into prefabs, we've looked into modular homes and things like that. And it's just, it certainly appears the best way to do it is the way we're doing it. But unfortunately, that takes a while though.
Who are your primary donors? Are they private individuals or are they companies or are they just locals or are they national? Without going too far into the secrets of the of the nonprofit world.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of nonprofits up here, so it's no secret.
Okay.
There's some real major donors. Door County Community Foundation is a foundation that is they will collect funds from other donors and put them together. Then they can distribute some of the money, or if they're there, it's a donor directed fund. So we do get some money from them. Just private donors primarily. We do also do get substantial donations from the manufacturing companies up here, the hospital, and things like that.
Mhm. If you were going to plot out where you wanted the Door County Housing Partnership to be in the next 5 and 10 years, how could you predict what kind of future you would want it to look like?
Well, we're going to need more land. And I think what we would also like to see is if there was something that we could do in conjunction with government, not the government's running the show, but that they realize that there's a crisis. And right now, I mean, the state has given us money to buy land in Sister Bay. The village of Sister Bay had foreclosed on some land. They gave us a really great deal on it, provided it would be workforce housing. The city of Sturgeon Bay has given us some ones that the county of Door County is giving us some land from tax sales too, as well. But we've got, let's see, 5 lots left in Sister Bay and another 4, I think, 5 in Sturgeon Bay. So that's only 10. And we're going to need more land. I mean, plain and simple.
Mhm. So, walk us through when you move a person into one of these houses. is. A lot of people are familiar with the habitat process, but talk to us about your process and what it's like when somebody moves in.
Well, they typically will work with that buyer. When we select the buyer, we've got a pretty good waiting list. We will sit down with them, with the builder and everything else, and they can pick out some things too. And if they wanted, like one woman, her dad was a painter, so they did all the painting and everything. They were able to custom paint the inside of the house and things like that. Once everything is done, or done enough that they can move in, like we've closed in February, well, the landscaping's not done then, obviously. They move in. We usually will try to have an open house or a little get together, which we just did on our last house in Sister Bay last week, actually. And a little celebration and things like that. And then once they move in, like I said, it's theirs. There's, some little hiccups that will come up to. What about some requirements about trees or something like that? And what about the landscaping? How come that's not done? And things like that. But it's all good. Everybody seems, it's a really happy celebration. It really is.
Mhm. And do you hear testimonials? I'm sure you do, about how people's lives changed once they moved into this property.
Well, I think it's just moving into the property right off the bat. They say that their life has changed and how that they never thought they'd be able to own a house up here.
Mhm.
And even with, because there are apartments up here, not mostly down in Sturgeon Bay, but even those are getting so expensive that, and you just have an apartment then. They're nice apartments and everything, but now you've got a 3-bedroom, 2-bath house with a 2-car garage, with your own yard and everything else for the kids to play in. Yeah, we just don't. It's a very difficult dream to achieve for a first-time home buyer up here. It's almost impossible. And that's why actually I got involved originally, was because I didn't create this crazy market up here. It happened, but I certainly benefited from it.
Mhm.
And that's when we started getting involved. And I'm like, I don't know that I really want to get involved with another nonprofit because it does take a lot of time. And my wife Heidi said, I think you really should do this because, we've certainly benefited from this crazy market. And she was right, as she usually is.
When one of life's lessons, you're like, you've already realized that life lesson. Excellent job. So, talk to me about the team that you have helping you do this. You mentioned them in the beginning, that there were several people in your board that were helping you along the way. Describe what kind of team you have there to help you.
We have got a former county planner. We've got an active attorney. We've got a retired attorney. Got a banker. We've got an innkeeper. We've got a developer of low-income housing. We have a retired banker. And we had Jim Honig, who was one of the founding members. He was a pastor.
A very good blend of people from a bunch of professions doing what you're doing, taking your expertise and your lessons learned, like we said, and trying to create solutions. Do you think your model, being this partnership and this 99-year lease model, do you think this is something that other communities could adopt and move forward?
Oh, they already are, 100%. And we adopted it from, and I would have to ask Mariah about that. She's got all the historical information up here. But yes, it's really going full force now. You're going to hear a lot more about community land trusts, or CLTs.
And is there something that you guys wish, looking back on your history now, that you would have incorporated or maybe done differently when you first were starting out?
Well, yeah, it's always evolving, because we realize one thing when we go through the qualifying things or something like that. Oops, we really shouldn't do that, or this would be better that way. We're constantly going over what I would have, if I would have had to say in it, and it would have worked out. To me, also having a multifamily meets our whole with the, owning the land, because a condominium, no one individual owns that land. And if you could have like townhouses or something like that, you're going to get a lot more dollar per square foot with multifamily. And I think, and we are still looking into that, because we do have enough property that we could probably build a 4-unit or something like that.
And multifamily is interesting because it exposes itself a little bit to changing the dynamics in the community, unless you can definitely point to other pieces. But there's also, like you mentioned, a great maximizing impact to what you're doing. And it's a really good use of the natural resources, the land, quite frankly, too. Um, Previously, we've talked with somebody from the Raleigh Land Bank in Raleigh, North Carolina, and their market has really, really changed in the last 8 to 10 years as well. So it seems that you're creating a solution for these markets that are rapidly changing if you can get in front of some of this dynamic. Is that kind of a fair strategy to think about when communities are saying, do we need to do this? Is that something that they should incorporate on assessing whether this model is good for them?
Yes. Yes. And I think most of the places I've seen, and it's not just vacation areas, but that's, Naples, you mentioned Steamboat Springs, they've all got those problems. And I actually heard, it wasn't on your podcast, it was a local podcast here, that's a woman from Steamboat Springs. It was probably the same woman, that she was comparing Steamboat Springs to Door County, and it was a really fair assessment. But yeah, I think they should all look into that, because now, okay, you're from a big city. I was from Peoria, Illinois, which 100,000 people. Caterpillar was the main driver there. Plenty of housing. Never was a shortage, never an issue, but you never had people coming there trying to buy second homes or anything like that that would take away those houses, where we do, and I think a lot of other resort areas do as well.
It has been a pleasure having you here, Scott, and really bringing a new community and the dynamics and how you guys are trying to solve some of that housing crisis up there. So we appreciate the time and what you're doing. So we trust that you'll start having the 10s and the 20s that you'll be able to build here over the next few years. So good luck, Scott, to you and your team.
Well, thank you, Katie, and thanks for shining the spotlight on this too, for all you do. Appreciate that.
Thanks for listening to ChangeMakers with Katie Goar. To find out more about Katie, go to quadel.com. That's QUADEL.com. This has been a production of Forbes Books Radio.